I want to tell you a secret, a truth that many people won't believe at first. I became a millionaire at age 40, not age 30, not age 25, 40. Why? But you see, it just happens that it's the best age to reach this point. I'm going to take you through my whole life saga, and I want you to find yourself in it. Hey? More importantly, I want you to realize that being a millionaire isn't merely a result of being a brilliant programmer, inheriting a large amount of money, or winning a lottery. It's possible for people like us. I turned 30 broke, not just barely scraping by with a few dollars in my pocket, but really broke. And I had credit cards with balances of $17,000 total. My car made noise every time I turned the key to start it, and my bank account rarely held more than a few $100s. My apartment was small, and my job wasn't horrible, but it certainly wasn't great either. I just sort of felt like I was stuck on repeat and couldn't figure out how to hit pause and move on. I remember sitting on my couch one evening, browsing my way through a few minutes of social media browsing, seeing every other person living their best life, and thinking to myself, I have officially failed at adulthood. But here's what I did not know at 30 that I know now. I was not actually behind. I was right where I needed to be to learn the lessons that would make me rich. Now, those difficult years taught me things that no business school or self-help manual could ever teach me. Those years taught me resilience. They taught me resourcefulness. They taught me that being uncomfortable is sometimes the price you have to pay for admission into a greater life. Most importantly, I learned that my circumstances don't define my potential. And the point at which things changed for me is when I stopped making excuses and started making changes. I know that sounds like something you'd see on a poster at one of those Get Your Life Together seminars, but it's real. For too long, I had been making excuses for myself about why I was never going to get ahead. I didn't have the right education. I didn't have money growing up. I didn't know people. I didn't get lucky breaks. All of those things were true. The point is that it was just excuses I was making for myself to prevent myself from having to take control of my life. And the day that I realized my financial future was up to me and that I had total control over it, regardless of what had happened in my past or what my circumstances were, was the day that my life started to turn around. I began by doing something radical. I stopped trying to appear successful and started trying to be successful. This meant making choices that seemed foolish to people around me. While my friends were buying new cars and taking costly vacations they couldn't afford, I was driving my old beater and spending my weekends developing skills. I reduced my expenses significantly. I moved into a small, low-rent apartment. I stopped eating out. I canceled subscriptions to services I wasn't using. I sold things I no longer needed. Every dollar I saved was put towards two things. The payoff of the debt was tough but necessary. I went at it with a vengeance that surprised me. I took second jobs wherever I could find them. I freelanced at night. I worked on the weekends. I passed on social invites that would require me to spend cash. I cleaned up my act, and I kept it simple. Wake, work, learn, sleep, repeat. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. Within 18 months, I had paid off the full $17,000 worth of credit card debt I had accumulated. The day I finished making payment, I felt a weight I had not felt in a long time. It was as if I could breathe again. But paying off debt was just a start. The key to building wealth lay in what I did next. I see. I understood my most valuable asset wasn't my money, because at this point, that was limited. My most valuable assets were my time and my ability to learn. So my strategy was to invest in myself. I took webinars. I read every book I could lay hands on about business, investing, and building wealth. I listened to audio broadcasts during my daily commute. Whoa. I studied successful people not just for what they were doing, but for how they were thinking. And gradually, patterns emerged between how successful individuals approach problems versus people who are broke. The biggest eye-opening thing was realizing that rich folks think in terms of assets and systems, and broke folks think in terms of income and expenses. So instead of trying to make more income, rich folks are looking for ways to build an asset that creates income. It was a complete mindset change for me. Instead of asking, how do I make more income? I began asking, how do I build something that creates income for me? This question gave me an inspiration for another business. I will not lie to you. It wasn't easy for me, nor did I know what I am doing. I made 1,000 mistakes. My initial business concept failed. So did my second. But I learned from them. Most importantly, I didn't stop. My third business concept began to get popular. It wasn't anything groundbreaking. It simply filled a niche in people's lives. Well, I began it with an investment of less than $500, operating it out of my kitchen table. The early stages of this venture were tough. I was trying to keep this business on top of my full-time employment. It was exhausting all the time. There were times when I wanted to give up, when it was simply easier to take the mediocrity that was being dealt to me rather than fighting for something so hard. However, the thought of what my life in 5 years might look like with me, giving up compared to what my life might look like in 5 years with me, pushing on, helped keep me going. Gradually, agonizingly, slowly at the start, the business began to expand. I reinvested every penny I earned back into the business. I didn't treat myself to anything, purchase anything luxurious. I was nurturing a garden, and every penny was a seed that could potentially grow into something bigger. As the business expanded, I finally hired the first employee, then the second. I began to formalize every process so the business could run without me having a hand in every single aspect. This was imperative because I would finally have the time to grow the business, as opposed to just maintaining the existing operations. So by the age of 35, my side business became more profitable than my main business. This is when I made another daunting choice. I left my business to pursue my side business full-time. My friends and family all thought I had lost my mind. I had finally gotten to a place in life where I could provide for my financial needs from both my main and side business, and I walk away from a steady income. I knew that if I wanted to attain true wealth, I needed to go all out. Being full-time with the business allowed it to grow like crazy, whereas before, when I was dividing my time, I just couldn't let it grow as much. I could act on things quicker, build deeper relationships, think more strategically instead of just reacting. The business was doubling, tripling, quadrupling. Well, I was making more money in my life, period, but what people don't get about building wealth, what people don't get, part one, making money. That's like hitting a baseball out of the playing field. People get part one. I have seen so many people making good money, yet remaining broke simply because they were spending all of their money on lifestyle, and then some. The minute they started to make a little more money, they raised their lifestyle accordingly. But then, they got hooked on what is referred to as the hedonic treadmill. and continued to chase after their next purchase, which they were sure was going to bring them happiness. But they were never satisfied anyway. I was determined to be different and ensure that I did not end up on this treadmill. Although I started to make a considerable amount of money, I continued to maintain a rather frugal lifestyle. It was at this point that knowledge of investing became paramount. I educated myself obsessively about all sorts of investment options. I discovered how stocks, bonds, property investments, and index funds work. I also found out about alternative investment. Well, of course I made some bad investments along the investing journey. However, I also made some phenomenal investments. I diversified my investments so that my net worth wasn't tied to just one business or investment. I invested in properties that earned me passive income. I invested in index funds for long-term growth. I even invested in others' businesses when I found good opportunities. The cumulative effect of all these choices began to manifest in my late 30s. My business was cash flowing heavily. My investments were on the rise and making their own money. My properties were appreciating in value and giving me returns every month. I had created several streams of income. This meant I was not reliant on just one. Oh no. This brought me a sense of security I had never had in my life. It brought me more than security, it brought me freedom. The $1 million finish line was getting close by the time I turned 39. It was amazing because from where I had come, it was an impossibility. I had been deep in debt and hopeless just 9 years prior. I even calculated my net worth one night and found that I was at $900,000. I was close. I could taste it. It was also during that period that I broke through that barrier. When that happened, I was 40 years old. Perhaps you'd think that for me, you'd hear that this was the most amazing feeling in the world, that somehow or another, fireworks must have been going off all around me, and everything changed. The thing that really happened was that it was satisfying. It was definitely an acknowledgement that what I was doing was right, that it was validated, but it really wasn't anything that changed who I was or how I felt about who I was. It wasn't about the amount in my bank accounts. It was about who I was, who I became in the process of creating all that value. But now I want to tell you the reasons you can do the same thing and why the age of 40 is actually the optimal age to reach the milestone. For one thing, at the age of 40, you actually possess experience. This is because you would have been in the industry for a sufficient amount of time to learn the dynamics of the industry and where the opportunities are. It is also at the age of 40 when you would have made many mistakes in the past. Second, you're only 40, and you have plenty of time. You can turn around your financial situation and start making the right choices. This will mean that you have at least 25 to 30 years until the traditional retirement age. Believe me, this is a long time for the power of compound interest to perform magic on your investments. You can start from scratch, and with consistent investments, you can make lots of money. Better yet, you can start a business or hone valuable income-generating skills. Third, it's usually around 40 that individuals seriously consider their finances for the first time. Let's be honest, when you're in your 20s, the idea of retirement seems like it's miles, miles, and miles away. Then in your 30s, you're still trying to build your career, maybe raise a family. By the time you're in your 40s, you're cognizant of the fact that time really is passing more quickly than you think, and you'd better start building your wealth now. That's a potent motivator if you use it correctly. The journey I followed isn't the only journey, but the truths are timeless. Spend less than you earn. 2. Invest wisely. 3. Develop skills that will improve your income earning power. 4. Develop multiple income streams. 5. Plan for a distant future. 6. Stay disciplined. These are unglamorous, uncomplicated principles. No! Trouble isn't knowing what to do. Trouble is doing it. When it doesn't happen overnight, it's hard to stick to a plan. Oh! Robert J. Kiyosaki. Now, let me respond to a few of the objections that you might be considering right now. Maybe you realize that you don't have any business ideas or entrepreneurial skill. That's fine. You don't have to start a business in order to build wealth. No. You can build wealth through career and through intelligent investing. My point, however, would be for you to consider that you have more potential for what you could be capable of. More potential, rather than simply accepting what you are capable of right now. I did not consider myself an entrepreneur until I started my business. Maybe you sit there thinking you don't have any money to invest. I understand. I was there. But trust me when I say you likely have more money than you realize, as soon as you begin to eliminate all unnecessary expenses. Most people have subscriptions they don't actually use, money-spending habits that don't line up with their values, and purchases that are made on impulse as opposed to intention. Begin tracking every dollar you spend for 1 year. Now, you'll find yourself amazed at where your money is actually going. Next, eliminate anything that is not of importance to you. This money needs to go toward paying off debts and for investment. Even $50 or $100 per month can add up to something quickly. You may be thinking that you are too old and should have started last week. This is just your fear speaking. Of course, it would have been fantastic to start earlier. However, you just can't change the past. The best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The second best time is today. The worst thing would be to start building your wealth at 40. The worst thing would be to reach 50 and regret not starting earlier. Time passes no matter what. You choose whether to use it to move forward towards prosperity or to remain exactly where you are. You may be thinking that it's an unstable economic time. It's worse than it used to be for previous generations. There are always challenges, there are always opportunities. Each generation faces a different set of circumstances. What matters isn't what's in front of you. It's how you react to it. Wow. Many of the greatest fortunes in history were made during economic times of hardship because smart people sensed opportunities while others were seeing only obstacles. It's not your job to wait for optimal circumstances. I think the biggest mental paradigm shift I've undertaken for my own success is realizing I am a problem solver and not a person who has problems. No, I used to be poor, so I considered myself a victim of my situation. I had problems which needed to be solved by someone else or something else. Then I began making my wealth, and I started to see myself differently. I was competent and resourceful. I had challenges that I needed to overcome by my own creativity and hard work. The other key paradigm shift was the acquisition of the ability to think abundantly instead of thinking scarcely. When you think scarcely, you think that you only have so much money and success available, and that when someone else gets some, you get less. This results in you being jealous and helpless. When you think abundantly, you know that money can be made because there is unlimited opportunity, and that when someone else is successful, it doesn't mean that you will have less chance of being successful, and that abundant thinking will unlock the doors that scarce thinking locks. I also had to acquire patience, and patience has never been one of my better attributes. We live in a world of instant everything is available immediately. The building of wealth does not work that way. It is a slow process, and for that matter, a very boring process. You make great choices every day, every month, every year, and for several years it appears that you are getting nowhere. And then, slowly, like compound interest, you begin to see accelerated results. Whoa. The first 100,000 is difficult. The other million is easier. But you do not want to lack the patience when you are trying to get that first million. Another trait that I had to make a point to develop was discipline. I'm just not a very disciplined guy by nature. I enjoy pleasure and comfort just like everyone else. However, I came to understand that discipline simply means choosing what you want most versus what you want now. I wanted financial freedom more than I wanted what I wanted right then and right there. It wasn't hard for me once I figured that out. In addition to all of this, I learned about the value of surrounding yourself with the right people. Wow. These 5 people you spend the most time around lead you to think like they do and believe what they believe about what is possible for your life. I knew people who were reckless with money, complainers, and thought wealth was for other people, and I thought and behaved that way too. I began to make an effort to meet people who were good at managing their finances and were growth-minded and possibility-minded, and I began to think and behave that way as well. I invested in teaching and tutoring, which enabled me to move much faster. I sought out people who had already done what I wanted to accomplish, and I learned from them. It meant that I had to pay tuition to take their courses or hire them to be coaches. It meant I had to read their books or watch their videos. It also meant I could ask them for advice. Most successful people are much more generous with their knowledge than you think they might be, because many remember when they felt the same way and want to assist someone who wants to change their circumstances. One of the most important lessons I learned was that the financial education and knowledge of personal finance that our school system does teach is a joke, given its relevance to our lives. We teach our kids nothing regarding money and finances, which is perhaps even more ridiculous given its relevance to our lives. I had to teach myself all that I know regarding finances, and gaining acumen in this area gave me the knowledge to make proper financial decisions. The financial education and knowledge that you acquire is perhaps one of the biggest ROI of anything you do. I also discovered the truth in wealth building being more than just making money. It is actually creating a valuable and fulfilling life. Money is actually a power source for freedom, security, and making the choices that you want to make instead of being bound by the amount of money you can spend. However, money doesn't bring happiness or fulfillment on your own. When I gained more wealth in my life, I also made it a priority to build my relationships in life, my health, my personal development, and giving to others. It wasn't just about gaining more wealth in the first place. It was about gaining more wealth in life. Giving back became more important in my life as my luck continued to grow. Once you have enough for yourself, you feel an incredible sense of fulfillment when you are in a position to give back. I began giving back in ways that were important to me. I gave back to friends and relatives who were in need. I gave back by creating employment opportunities with my business. They gave back by giving me someone to guide through mentorship. Giving back added value to my luck, but it did not take anything away. That journey of being broke at 30 and a millionaire at 40 has taught me one thing, which is you are not hostage to what you were yesterday. Where you are today does not determine where you are meant to be. That's because I had a humble upbringing without inheritance, without privilege, without luck. What I had was the will to change, the hunger to learn, the self-control to deliver, and the perseverance to press on when the returns were slow. So if you find yourself reading this inspired but overwhelmed, let me tell you what practical next steps I can offer. First of all, take a clear understanding of where you are right now with regard to finances. Now, take a piece of paper, write down what you make, what you spend, what you owe, what you own. You can't improve what you can't measure. And without a clear sense of where you are, you can't make a plan for improvement. This can be a difficult exercise, especially if your finances are a mess, but this exercise needs to be done. Second, make a budget where you spend less than you make and invest the difference. It doesn't mean you live like a miser. It means you manage your finances. You decide what matters most to you and you spend on that. You can skimp on the other thing. You make categories where you save and where you invest, and you pay them like bills you need to pay. Now, you pay yourself first, and then you live on the balance. Third, begin educating yourself on money management and investing. This includes reading The Millionaire Next Door, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Simple Path to Wealth, and I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Listen to podcasts on managing your finances and investing. You can also take free online education classes. The value of your newfound education will be worth exponentially more than your investment of time. Education leads to financial success. Fourth, make more money. Look for ways to make more within your current career by getting an increase or finding a promotion. Develop high-income skills that make you more valuable to others. Pursue a side business based on your area of expertise. Having multiple sources of income means that there will be more to invest and that you won't be left with limited options if one of them runs dry. Do not be stuck with just making what you make. Fifth, start investing right away. Even if it's only a few dollars in one place, open a retirement account if you haven't already. Then put money in it on a regular basis. Oh no. Begin with index funds if investing is a mystery for you. The point is to get started, not to get it perfect. You'll pick it up as you go and compound interest will get to work for you right away. Sixth, be patient and persistent. Building wealth is a marathon and not a sprint. You will have setbacks. You will learn from your mistakes. You will have days when you feel like you're not making progress. Still, you have to move forward. You have to persevere and be focused on your long-term goals, while taking time to celebrate the small victories you achieve along the way. Keep in mind that being a millionaire is not about the money. Being a millionaire is about what the money stands for. Freedom, security, choices, and having the ability to live life on your own terms. Being a millionaire is about showing yourself that you have more in you than you ever thought you did. Being a millionaire is about making you the type of person who can set huge goals and achieve them. Wow. That which you have is great, but who you're meant to be is priceless. I can reflect on myself now as a younger man, sitting on that couch at 30 feeling impoverished and hopeless, and I wish I could go back and give him advice on what I now know. I'd tell him that it's all going to work out for him better than he can ever picture. No! I'd remind him that he's going through the struggles for reasons that will ultimately end up with him succeeding. I'd tell him to begin now to trust in himself. Since I can't go back and give him this advice, I'm giving it to you. You can do this. You really can. It does not matter where you are or what you're facing. No? What does matter is that you want to change and that you will continue to work towards this every day. 40 is just a number. And trust me, 40 is the perfect age because you have life experience, you have urgency, and you still have all of your life before you and enough years for compound growth to do its thing. Whether you can or you can't, is not what I want to ask you to consider about becoming a millionaire by 45. Whether you can or you can't is not what I want you to consider about becoming a millionaire. Whether you can or you can't is not what you ought to consider regarding becoming a millionaire by 45. Whether you can or you can't is not what you will be arriving in 10 years' time. The only question is where. You can arrive in 50 with basically the same financial circumstances that you have today. Spending the last decade wishing and hoping but not really doing anything to change. Or you can arrive in 50 as a millionaire, reflecting back on the last decade as the time when your whole world changed because you finally took charge. The choice is yours. The road I took isn't easy, but it is straightforward. Spend less than you earn. Invest appropriately. Grow more income. Continue learning. Stay disciplined. Be patient. Stay with good people. Think long term. These things have worked for me. They will work for you too. You don't have to be smarter than others. You won't have to be luckier than others. You simply have to be willing to work harder than others. People know what they should do with their finances. People just don't do it long enough to reap the benefit. I became a millionaire when I was 40, and it was life-changing. It wasn't because of all the money, but what it made me feel. The confidence, the freedom, the opportunities. And that's what I hope for you. That you will feel the sense of accomplishment that comes with reaching for something massive and getting it. That you will feel the security that comes with knowing you have enough money that you don't have to think about paying the bills, or knowing you have enough for when something unexpected happens. Well, and that you will have the freedom to make choices that are based on what you want, rather than what you can afford. Start today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not after you've figured everything out. Start today with what you have and where you are. Make one small step towards making better financial decisions. And then another step tomorrow. And then another step the day after that. That's how I grew from where I was to where I am. And that's how you will do the same. The millionaire that you want to become is waiting for you on the other side of starting and continuing to work hard. Go meet that person. They are going to be amazing. And they are going to be very thankful that you decided to start today.